We had a lengthy discussion around the Emergencies Act that the Prime Minister has invoked. We had very good discussion, and it was very clear a number of things. First of all, we reaffirmed, obviously, to each other, and we want to reaffirm to all of you that we are the party of law and order, and that we believe that the trucks parked outside illegally should move. They are there illegally. You cannot park on Wellington for days and days on end. That is illegal, and they need to move those trucks. We also, though, know that many of those people are our neighbors. They are our constituents. They are Canadians who want to be heard, and they should be heard. Now, what we know is that Justin Trudeau disagrees with them. He doesn't like their opinions. He doesn't want to hear them. And so we cannot support the Emergencies Act. We don't believe that it's the right thing to do. Let's be very clear how this all started. The Prime Minister decided to impose a vaccine mandate on truckers. There was no scientific proof or evidence that it was the right thing to do. Truckers opposed it. Many Canadians opposed it, but he went ahead with it anyway. Truckers came to Ottawa, and their supporters came to Ottawa, and Justin Trudeau, first of all, hid for a week, and then he began to call them names and say that their opinion was unacceptable and we shouldn't tolerate these people. And that was about all he did to try to rectify the problem or even let these folks know that they were being heard. So the first act that he does when he has a chance to do something, he doesn't go through step 1, 2, 3. He goes straight to 100 and invokes the Emergencies Act. And at the same time, we're seeing borders clearing at Coutts, at Windsor, where I'm hearing in Manitoba, it's starting to clear. And so that it really begs the question why he would take this drastic action. There's a lot of questions we have, a lot of questions around what it means. For example, if someone donated to the protest maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, will their bank account be frozen? Will their credit rating now be hampered? There's a lot of questions around the fiscal implications. This isn't just the Emergencies Act on these protesters, and even the Minister of Public Safety yesterday said a small group. This is against all Canadians. So we haven't seen the legislation. We do have to see it. I don't think anything that we will see will change our mind. We will be opposing it. And at the same time, we do believe in law and order. And, you know, we're really concerned about the fiscal situation in Canada. Even prior to the protests, we have supply chain issues. We knew the vaccine mandate would make supply chain issues even worse. So a lot of concerns going on in Canada right now. I'll tell you who the Prime Minister has an emergency going on. He's got a political emergency in his own caucus, in his own party, and with his own polling numbers here in Canada. This is not the way to address it, and it's hurting Canadians. I'll let my colleague Luc Berthold repeat that briefly in French.
Merci beaucoup, Chef. Ben, écoutez, comme la chef d'opposition vient tout juste de mentionner, on a eu une bonne rencontre au niveau du caucus. Il y a une chose qui en est ressortie clairement, c'est que le Parti conservateur est clairement le parti de la loi et l'ordre. C'est pour cette raison qu'on demande aux camionneurs qui stationnent illégalement leurs camions devant le Parlement depuis déjà plusieurs jours de s'en aller, de se retirer, de respecter la loi. C'est un message qu'on a clairement reçu aujourd'hui au caucus et qu'on souhaite faire entendre aussi. On comprend cependant que parmi ces gens-là qui sont ici, il y a beaucoup de nos représentants, des gens qui viennent de partout au Canada, qui avaient un message à passer au premier ministre et qui malheureusement n'ont pas été entendus par le premier ministre, qui a préféré aller immédiatement à une loi massue, à recourir à la loi sur les mesures d'urgence, après être resté caché pendant une semaine, après avoir ignoré complètement l'ensemble des gens qui étaient ici sur la colline. Il a préféré utiliser l'arme ultime pour tenter de mettre fin à ça, alors qu'il y avait beaucoup d'outils à la disposition et du gouvernement et des forces de l'ordre pour venir à bout de ces manifestations, comme on l'a vu survenir déjà au cours de la fin de semaine dans les autres parties du pays où il y avait effectivement des blocades comme celle-là. Donc, ce qu'on souhaite, évidemment, c'est s'opposer au recours à l'invocation de la loi sur les mesures d'urgence. Je pense que c'est clair qu'on n'avait pas besoin d'en arriver là. Il y avait d'autres outils disponibles. Ce que Justin Trudeau tente de faire présentement, c'est de créer une urgence politique. Il est en situation de crise lui-même au sein de son parti, au sein de son caucus. Et dans les sondages, donc Justin Trudeau a préféré, encore une fois, comme il l'a fait depuis le début, démoniser, utiliser les outils à sa disposition pour faire de la partisanerie politique plutôt que d'écouter les Canadiens qui en ont assez. Donc, c'est pour cette raison-là qu'on va s'opposer au recours à la loi sur les mesures d'urgence. On n'a pas encore eu la législation, on n'a pas encore vu la motion qui va être présentée, mais ce serait étonnant qu'à la vue de la législation qui s'en vienne, qu'on change notre opinion. Yeah.
I wonder, though, I mean, Ms. Bergen, if I can ask, it is also abundantly clear that the folks who are parked outside, they don't listen, they're not watching us, they're not reading us. Will you take that message literally onto the streets and go talk to them and tell them to go home just like you and your caucus were on the street talking and supporting them and telling them to be here?
Well, what I can tell you is our caucus will continue to do what we have been doing, and over the last couple of weeks we're walking up to the Hill, walking back home. If we see them, I promise you, and I already have, I've told them, listen, we are taking your message to Parliament Hill. We believe that the government should present a plan to end the vaccines and the mandates, but you need to move your truck. You need to get it off the street. That is literally what, if given the opportunity now, I'm not going out seeking them because my job is not to go out and hold Canadians accountable. My job is to be in Parliament and to do the job here, holding the government to account. But I tell you that we're conservatives, and we speak pretty plainly to people. And we can tell people, listen, you're good people, you're working hard. We know that you actually want to be home with your families, you want to be working, you want to be living your lives. So we hear your message, but you got to move your trucks. They can't be here. It's illegal to do it.
What does it say to you that many of them seem like they're not interested in leaving? And the fact is, we can talk about what Justin Trudeau's responsibility may or may not be, but this is also a failure of local policing. This is a failure of law and order, as you allude to.
Well, and those are questions that are absolute legitimate questions that the right people should be asking. But for the Prime Minister to go to the Emergencies Act, when this is his political problem that he has caused, he has wedged, divided, stigmatized, and traumatized Canadians with his actions. That's really at the crux of this. And what we're talking about right now is him invoking the Emergencies Act, which is a massive sledgehammer, unprecedented, has the potential to be very dangerous. So that's the question that we are seized with right now.
Protesters I've spoken to outside seem pretty unconcerned. They say, whatever fines or charges I get, I'm going to fight that in court and I will be successful. Do you think that they're mistaken in thinking that there won't be any serious consequences for their actions?
Well, in Canada, we have the rule of law, and there are serious consequences, and there should be serious consequences. So I would advise them to not take that lightly, to do what they actually know in their heart is right, and move the trucks. They need to move the trucks, and we will keep doing our job speaking up on their behalf and on the behalf of millions of Canadians.
M. Barton, ça va prendre quoi si c'est pas les mesures d'urgence pour les faire partir les camionneurs? Parce que c'est pas en leur disant de quitter qu'ils vont le faire, puis c'est pas la police d'Ottawa aussi qui est capable de le faire, on l'a vu. Alors, si c'est pas la GRC qui intervient, qui fait appliquer les règlements municipaux, c'est quoi la prochaine étape? Comment on fait?
Bien, je faudrait poser la question à Justin Trudeau. On n'est pas ici, nous, pour proposer des solutions. Moi, ce que je dis, c'est que depuis le début, Justin Trudeau a jeté de l'huile sur le feu. Justin Trudeau a préféré diviser, a pas tenté de trouver aucune solution. On a vu qu'il y avait des mesures en place déjà qui ont fonctionné. On l'a vu au pont Windsor, on l'a vu à Côte. Donc, il y a des mesures en place. Les policiers ont ce qu'il faut pour régler la situation. Et malheureusement, par son inaction, par le fait qu'il a ignoré la tension, il a ignoré la fatigue des gens, il a créé lui-même cette crise-là dans laquelle il se trouve actuellement. Et malheureusement, aujourd'hui, on se retrouve dans une situation où on est devant une situation où les camionneurs occupent illégalement la rue ici devant le Parlement. C'est pas pour rien. Encore une fois, je répète, le caucus ce matin a été très clair. On demande aux camionneurs qui ne respectent pas la loi, qui occupent illégalement la rue, de s'en aller. On pense que c'est la chose à faire. Ils doivent s'en aller. On est ici pour porter le message. On l'a fait depuis 2 semaines. On va continuer de le faire. La chef de l'opposition, à tous les jours, questionne le gouvernement Justin Trudeau. À tous les jours, demande une solution à la fin aux obligations vaccinales qui ont créé cette situation-là. Donc, je pense qu'on fait notre rôle comme opposition. Notre rôle à nous, c'est de demander des comptes à Justin Trudeau et c'est ce qu'on va continuer à faire.
Mais qu'est-ce qu'il demande à donner des outils supplémentaires aux policiers? Parce que c'est ce que répond M. Trudeau. Il dit on leur donne des outils supplémentaires. Ils s'en servent s'ils veulent.
Bien, écoutez, Justin Trudeau recourt à l'arme ultime, à la loi massue, alors qu'on avait amplement d'outils actuellement. Donnez-moi les qui ont fait avant d'utiliser la loi sur les mesures d'urgence. Est-ce que des ministres ont utilisé des pouvoirs spéciaux qui sont déjà à leur disposition pour intervenir? Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un de ce cabinet-là qui a sorti pour parler, pour écouter, pour entendre les revendications de ces gens-là? Absolument rien. On est passé par-dessus toutes les étapes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on est arrivé tout de suite à l'étape, bang, la loi Massu. Et ça, c'est inacceptable. On est persuadé, comme on l'a vu en fin de semaine à Coutts, à Windsor, qu'on était capable, on avait les outils pour régler la situation. Et malheureusement, Justin Trudeau va très, très loin. Il y a beaucoup d'implications à avoir recours à la loi sur les mesures d'urgence, notamment la saisie des comptes de banque. Jusqu'où ça va aller? On va saisir qui? Quelqu'un qui a fait un don de 10 $ à un partisan, à un ami pour participer à ça? On ne le sait pas. Malheureusement, on n'a pas la législation devant nous. Quand on aura la législation, on sera en mesure d'aller plus loin puis de commenter.
Ce sont quoi les solutions alternatives remarquées? Ce sont quoi les solutions alternatives remarquées? Des injonctions pour remorquer les véhicules, aller parler aux manifestants, ce sont quoi les...
Ce qu'on dit aux manifestants actuellement, si vous occupez illégalement la rue Wellington devant le Parlement, quittez, respectez la loi. On est ici pour faire entendre vos revendications, on est ici pour demander, comme vous, la fin des obligations vaccinales. Tout ça a commencé parce que Justin Trudeau a décidé de faire de la politique. Il a déclenché une élection en pleine pandémie. Il a décidé d'imposer une obligation vaccinale à des camionneurs. Et on demande tout simplement à Justin Trudeau de faire ce qui est juste, de présenter un plan de levée de ces restrictions-là. Mais pour l'instant, on ne peut pas tolérer que des gestes illégaux continuent de se commettre. Donc, on demande aux camionneurs de partir et de respecter la loi. On est ici avec la chef de l'opposition officielle pour justement faire entendre le message.
If not through the federal government, if not through the Federal Emergencies Act, how can the federal government get these protesters to leave? Is it just a matter of the Prime Minister needing to change his tone and maybe apologize for his comments earlier?
Well, that's up to the Prime Minister to decide how he's going to act and what he's going to do. How he's conducted himself up until this point has not helped at all. It has hurt. So we think it would sure help if he would change his tone, but I don't count on him to do that. We're going to be asking more questions in question period today, some specific questions, so watch for that. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Let me just say how disappointed I am in the government House Leader. I'm walking into caucus without any information about what the motion to be presented in Parliament is going to say. My back's up against the wall right now. The Prime Minister announced the other day that he was enacting the Emergency Act, and he did it in front of the media. He didn't even do it, didn't even have the courtesy or the respect to do it in our symbol of democracy. Even when the bombs were dropping over Britain, Winston Churchill showed respect for democracy by showing up in the House of Parliament. So I'm profoundly disappointed in that, and I'm extremely disappointed in the fact that I can't even walk into my caucus with an understanding of what that motion is going to say that we're expected to be debating tomorrow. So Mr. Kmetch has some remarks in French.
Donc, comme notre leader à la Chambre a dit, nous sommes vraiment déçus, complètement déçus que le leader du gouvernement dans la Chambre ne nous a pas donné la courtoisie de nous donner un brefage ou de l'information écrite que nous pourrions donner à notre caucus ce matin. Nous allons être incapables de donner toute l'information que le gouvernement et ses députés ont à nos députés pour qu'ils puissent faire la meilleure décision pour les Canadiens et les Canadiennes. Et comme notre leader a dit, ça va être vraiment difficile de voir comment nous pouvons travailler avec le gouvernement pour nous assurer que nous faisons le meilleur pour le Canada.
Mais les informations ont été publiées dans la Gazette du Canada hier soir.
The information is public, but we don't have a motion to deal with. So I'm walking into caucus with an expectation to formulate a position on an emergency debate, a national emergency according to the Prime Minister, and I don't even know what we're debating. So that's the problem that I have. And it's just another example of the Prime Minister's contempt for our democracy. Why would he stand in front of the media and not stand in our symbol of democracy to present a plan or to introduce an act during a national emergency? So I'm profoundly disappointed.
Are you expecting the motion today, sir?
We'll see. I was expecting it this morning. I was actually expecting it this morning. Mark Holland, the government House Leader, told me to expect this morning. He actually brought it up in the government House Leaders meeting yesterday. And this morning, I still don't have that motion.
Will you comment on what's been reported about this? I think it's justified to use the Emergency Act. Why not? Good morning, Marilyn.
Hi there, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Some of your colleagues still think it's a justification, it's an overreach now to use the Emergencies Act. What do you think?
I think it's a power grab by the Prime Minister. There is no national emergency. There is no threat to the security of Canada. The protests at the borders were peacefully taken down, and I think it's an
You
overreach.
don't think a protest downtown is a threat to social cohesion, to Canada,
I think it's being dealt
I
with.
hear that you're trying to make a distinction between
I think
the
it's being
borders
dealt
and
with
here.
it. He did not act with his existing powers. So for him to grab even further powers and very far-reaching powers is very troubling.
Good morning. Well, the Prime Minister needs to be asking that question right now because he led us to the situation we're in. Thank you very much.
What's your reaction to the Emergency Acts? Do you think that this is something that's necessary here, given the state of what we're in outside?
On Friday past, we had the Prime Minister say that the local police here in Ottawa had all the resources that they needed to resolve the situation. The Prime Minister's also had the ability to have a dialogue with people who have concerns about the vaccine mandates and the impact that they're having on their ability to earn a livelihood at a time when we know that the vaccine uptake in Canada is over 90%, which is fantastic. I'm vaccinated. I encourage other people to do that. I come from a community that has the highest vaccination uptake in the province and in Canada. And we're at a point now where unless we're shooting for 100% uptake or people are going to be excluded from society indefinitely, then it's time to have that conversation. The Prime Minister can show leadership. He could have spoken with the American President and looked to come to some kind of resolution with respect to cross-border mandates. So now we're at a point where we had the Windsor border crossing situation resolved with the existing laws and the existing resources in the province of jurisdiction. The Coots border crossing, we saw the images of the resolution there that included, RCMP officers hugging folks after they left. The RCMP executed effectively an interdiction of weapons and ammunition there that was done with the existing laws and done with the existing resources that they had before the Emergencies Act was invoked. We have a situation in Ottawa where, again, the Prime Minister didn't talk to them and they haven't attempted to effect the same type of resolution that they did at the Windsor crossing, which was done effectively by the professional police services in Ontario. So the Prime Minister certainly hasn't made a case that these are steps that need to be taken. It's unprecedented. He skipped to the very last step without having done what is the most important thing, and that's to have a conversation with people that he obviously fundamentally disagrees with, but instead he's cast them aside and called them names. So to skip right to the Emergencies Act, the implications of it are far-reaching. The effects that it has on civil liberties in Canada is chilling, and he certainly hasn't made the case. It's not something that I can support.
Would you have a conversation with someone who tells you to fuck off?
You know what? As a member of Parliament, I have conversations with people like that every single day, and so I think that we've seen in Canada many times where we have people who protest, and we have ministers of the Crown who have a dialogue with them. They don't necessarily give them everything that they want. We gave the Prime Minister a great off-ramp this week with our Opposition Day motion to present a plan to eliminate the mandates. So it wasn't an order to the government to end mandates. It was, what is your plan to do so? And they refused to do that. I think that's that just shows that this is a Prime Minister who's not interested in taking the temperature down. He's quite content to escalate things. So he is going to, he's going to have to explain to Canadians why he took this step. And frankly, I don't think it was the appropriate one at this time.
What about members of your caucus that have posted pictures, statements of support for the protesters outside?
Everyone has a right in this country to peaceful protest, so their freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, those rights.
Do they have a right to lock down a city, a G7 capital for 20 days?
Those rights come with responsibilities, and those responsibilities include to protest lawfully. And so we have the place to do that on Parliament Hill. That doesn't include Wellington Street. Folks that are obstructing Wellington Street should park their trucks in a parking lot, take their signs, go up onto the hill. That's the right way to do that. There is a conversation to be had about civil disobedience and when that goes too far. But frankly, I don't think it's incumbent. The opposition is responsible to resolve this situation. it's the Prime Minister. He hasn't even had a conversation. I give great credit to my colleagues, including myself, who've actually walked out onto the street and just listened to people, made no offers, promises, or commitments to them. And every time I cross that street, every day, I run into people from my constituency, some of whom are vaccinated, some of whom aren't, who are just concerned with the state of discourse in this country, and it upsets them, it concerns them, and the messages that those folks are displaying, the people that I'm talking to, are very appropriate. They're patriotic, they love their country, and they just want to be listened to. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a nice day.
Sénateur Boisvenu, vous pensez quoi du recours à la loi sur les mesures d'urgence?
Oh, mais on attend d'avoir le texte. Nous, on est rappelé vendredi cette semaine au Sénat. Fait qu'on va voir le texte.
Il y a le décret qui a été publié, vous en pensez quoi?
Je ne l'ai pas lu, malheureusement. On en prend connaissance aujourd'hui.
Vous en avez parlé avec vos collègues, j'imagine. Qu'est-ce qu'ils en pensent?
Bien, tout le monde attend là, de voir le texte. Qu'est-ce qu'il va y avoir dedans? Est-ce qu'on va respecter aussi les juridictions des provinces? Hein? On sait qu'il y a quand même là, presque 50% des provinces qui ne veulent pas l'appliquer sur le territoire. Ils n'ont pas eu de problème comme tel. Fait que je pense que ça va être ça à quoi moi je vais m'attaquer, m'attarder, à savoir si l'autonomie des provinces va être respectée là-dessus, parce que la sécurité publique relève des provinces d'abord.
Mais comment on règle la situation à Ottawa, par exemple? Est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec le fait de dire que ça prend des outils supplémentaires à la police pour régler la crise?
Je ne sais pas, je suis confus là-dessus, parce qu'on a dit hier, on avait déjà saisi un compte de banque d'un des organisateurs. Ça veut dire qu'il y a déjà des outils qui existent. Le gouvernement peut aller voir un juge, demander une injonction. J'ai des difficultés à comprendre pourquoi on n'utilise pas les outils actuellement au code criminel s'il y a des infractions. Fait que c'est de voir si on ne va pas prendre un canon pour tuer une mouche. Là. Moi, c'est ça qui... Est-ce que Justin Trudeau, ce décret-là, sert juste à sauver son image? Si c'est ça, moi, je pense qu'on fait encore de la politique sur la pandémie qui m'apparaît tout à fait aberrant. Là.
Alors, vous êtes rappelé vendredi. Savez-vous quand vous allez avoir une motion?
La motion au Sénat, elle serait vendredi. Mais après ça, c'est le débat qui commence là, la semaine prochaine ou ce week-end. Ça se peut qu'on soit rappelé ce week-end.
Vous allez voter contre?
Pardon?
Vous allez voter contre?
Non, on va prendre connaissance d'abord. Hein. Okay. On vote pour ou contre ce qu'on connaît. Je ne connais rien actuellement de ce qu'il y a dedans. D'accord, bonne journée à vous. Merci.